Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's another beautiful morning in Peru, in the altitude of about, I don't know, like 3.5 kilometers, something like that. And I slept like a dead man. It wasn't too cold, so I slept really well. And this morning is a very special morning because today is my last day in the mountains. Road further only goes downhill. So today I'm about to leave the mountains, and very soon I'll get to the Pacific coast. And more than 1 year ago I started this journey on the Atlantic coast. So I have almost crossed the entire South American continent already. Very little left, so I'm very excited. Mountains are beautiful, mountains are amazing, mountains are marvelous, but sometimes it feels good to leave the mountains behind, and so I did. In fact, last night I spent in the town of Nazca pretty much celebrating because I just crossed the entire Peruvian Andes. So I left the mountains and now I find myself in the desert, Nazca Desert, which I will need to cross as well. You just have a look. From the deep jungles of Brazil and Amazon to the Nazca Desert. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is another beautiful morning in Peru. It is raining a little bit, but still a very beautiful morning, very special morning. Because, as you can see, I'm walking on the beach. Just like I was walking on the beach more than 1 year ago. Just I was on the Atlantic coast of South America. And yesterday, as the sun was going down, I managed to get to the Pacific coast of South America. It took me a little bit more than 1 year. I crossed entire Brazil, entire Amazon basin, all Amazon jungle. Then I cycled across the Peruvian Andes. And here I am on the Pacific coast. You know, I haven't even drank my coffee this morning. I haven't ate anything. I just want to see the ocean. You know, it's kind of funny because I honestly wasn't thinking that much about the end of this trip. Maybe perhaps just lately, but for most of the time I was just doing it, you know. I was traveling, I was living on the road. And yesterday when I came to this beach, when I showed up right here, I thought, wow, this is really it. Like further down there is just an ocean. I wasn't jumping over my head like overexcited, it was just wow. This is where it ends. I mean, my journey is still not completely finished. The original idea was to cycle to Lima, the capital of Peru, which I will do. I still have like 260 kilometers or so left. But my journey from one coast of South America to another apparently ends here. And it was funny how I was thinking, like romanticizing in my head how I will pitch my tent somewhere next to the ocean, and I will wake up and there will be Pacific Ocean or something like that. But yesterday when I arrived here, I realized that this is really a touristy area. There is really no place, and further down there is some protected area, and camping is strictly prohibited. So I just found some regular cheap-ass place to sleep, and it took me some time. So I'm pretty close to finishing my journey, but nobody said that these last 200 kilometers will be easy. You see, yesterday I cycled way into the night. I just couldn't find any place to set up my camp. And what's really annoying is that somewhere down there, on the other side of the road, there is a beach. But I just couldn't find any road, any path to get to that beach, so I just ended up sleeping here. This is really random location. And there are also some people living out here. Look, I haven't noticed this at night, but there's plenty of small houses. So I guess I can make one conclusion. Over the years I've got at least a little bit smarter. Because yesterday I was almost approaching the outskirts of Lima. I had roughly 40 or 50 kilometers left of cycling. The last destination of this journey, and I was real excited. But instead of rushing into Lima at night, I decided to take a break and spend the night in some cheap ass hotel on my way. Take some good rest, and here I'm going to Lima today. And that was really a good decision, because cycling into one of the biggest capitals of South America in the nighttime is absolutely not a bright idea. So yeah, I guess I've got a little bit smarter. I don't even know what's the name of this town or suburbs or wherever, but yeah, there's an ocean, so I have one more opportunity to see the ocean, and then I'll go to Lima. I'll hit the highway again. And here I am, eventually, after all this time, I found myself in Lima, capital of Peru. And I guess since this journey is finished, one would expect me to say some profound things or give some grandiose speech. And honestly, this was long and rough ride. And very many things happened. And some of those things I filmed and I posted on this channel. And then there were those other things that I decided to not film and keep them off the cameras. Paraguay is definitely one of the least known Latin American countries, which makes Asunción one of the least known Latin American capitals, which makes this hangover a completely unique Latin American experience. Whoa! You know, to this day I consider myself as a relatively private person, so it really took me some time to get used to this YouTube thing, you know, exposing my life to other people. You know, like all these days, like last 48 hours, I kind of felt like there are like two devils dancing inside of my guts and causing me all this pain, you know. And with this massive, disgusting turd, devil left my body, and now I'm feeling relieved. And regarding the end of this journey, well, You see, I'm sort of traveling or moving from one place to another for almost 9 years straight now. Yeah, that's almost a decade. So, in the larger scheme of things, it feels as if this was just another chapter of this never-ending constant movement that I'm on. And maybe one day it will end. I don't know. But where I was going is that instead of celebrating, I'm just planning my next move, and that's that. And you know what? Future seemed to be pretty bright. But anyway, I was kinda a little bit reluctant to talk into camera for the last few weeks, so I just want to mention a couple of observations that I made on this last chapter of my ride. Now, first of all, those strange images, those strange things that you saw in the desert that I crossed are the infamous Nazca lines. You see, long time ago there was a civilization living in this part of Peru. And this civilization, so-called Nazca civilization, well, they were known for extremely complex textiles, ceramics, and geoglyphs, or these giant mysterious lines in the desert that we can still see in our times. What's more interesting is that some of these lines, they form shapes like animal and human figures. And also they say that the best way to observe Nazca lines is from air. So if you find yourself in a good financial situation, if you're a rich gringo, well, then you can just go to Nazca town and rent some little aircraft and some local dude will fly you over and you will see most of the lines. But if you're just a regular fellow and you got holes in your pockets, well, then you can still see some lines. So I did. I went and I saw some lines. And I guess the natural question is, why the hell these people were making these lines in the desert? What was the purpose of all of this? And well, nobody knows exactly, but there are a few theories. Now, some say that these lines had a religious purpose, like they led to some ceremonial sites where some deities were worshipped. Then others believe that these lines were used for astronomical observations. But I guess we all know the truth. These lines are definitely and without any doubt of extraterrestrial origin. Because I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but that seems to be the most reasonable and logical explanation. So long time ago, some highly sophisticated and intelligent UFOs came over and started making these big-ass lines in the deserts of southern Peru. You know, they came to the earth and they thought, wow, these deserts, they look kind of bleak, you know, so let's make some giant images of lizards and monkeys and snakes, you know, and it will make so much more sense. So they did it. Because you see, these days UFOs aren't too active. I mean, they still show up from time to time, but just for brief moments. But other than sodomizing a few rednecks in south of United States or impregnating a few bears in Siberia, they really don't do much. But back in the ancient times, aliens were showing up left and right, all over the place. And you know, right next to my hometown in Lithuania, we have this famous location. Second biggest rock in all of Lithuania. I'm so proud. And in my opinion, that rock was definitely placed there by some aliens. Because it's so big, who else could place that rock in such a place, you know? I mean, I guess it's just the first logical explanation that comes to my mind, you know, just some extraterrestrials came over and brought that rock, you know, right next to my hometown. Just like they worked on those Nazca lines and Egyptian pyramids and so on, you know. Okay, so I guess most of you already noticed that I'm ranting completely wild nonsense. I'm literally talking from my ass. But if you thought that this was wild, well then, welcome to the grim reality of our lives. Since there is an entire TV series on the History Channel based on this type of bullshit. Yep, like 260 episodes or so. And why the hell am I talking about this nonsense? Well, because it's rough and it's almost depressive. Another really crazy observation that I made on my way to Lima were these really wild desert communities that I saw along the highway. While on the seaside it was just regular beach towns or just small towns scattered all along the coast. Nothing too crazy. But on the other side of the highway, where I was cycling, I've seen a lot of really almost movie Mad Max-like looking human settlements right there, out there in the desert. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, throughout my time I've seen a lot of crazy stuff. But this was kind of surprising and kind of sad too, because later I was told that most of these people living out there in the desert are illegal squatters, just desperately looking for any place to settle, and so they did. And you know, I'm not gonna lie, it feels good to be off the road for a while. Although Lima as a city is way too big for my taste. But let's cut the crap. I'm not even in Lima anymore. And where the hell I am? And what's my next step? I guess I'll explain you all that in my next video. But for now, I really hope you enjoyed this one. And I'll see you in a while.